Hi, I'm Anna Stovall. I am an intern here for 100 Rural Women. I'm going to the University of Minnesota Morris. I'm in my senior year this year. And today I'm going to be interviewing Monica. She recently did her QPR training for us at 100 Rural Women, but we just wanted to take the time to interview her and answer these questions a little bit more. So Monica, would you be able to introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So Monica McConkey, I have been a part of 100 Rural Women for a few years now. Um, as far as my background, I grew up on a farm in northwestern Minnesota in Mahnomen County, right outside of the little tiny town called Bijou. Um, I have my bachelor's degree in psychology and my master's degree in counseling, and am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Minnesota. And really, for the past, gosh, I've been doing this work for about 28 years now. I've either provided or supervised programs that provide mental health services in rural areas.
Yeah, so my next question is, what kind of sparked your interest in studying and working in this field? Like, what led you to be so interested in this?
Oh, that's such a good question. I've had other people ask me that too. And when I think back, um, I feel like I naturally was kind of a helper from the time I was a kid, whether it was helping the little animals on the farm, whether it was helping my friends, or um, that just I think naturally led me to a field where I was able to, for a career, be a helper. So yeah, I don't think there was one instance or incident that really flipped the switch for me. I think it was more of it fit who I was. It fit my values and kind of my passion.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you said you've been doing this for about 28 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how recently did you start doing the QPR trainings?
Oh goodness, I think I was trained in QPR probably it would have been right around 2019, 2020, which was great because then it pivoted, of course, very quickly to virtual, which QPR is one of the few suicide awareness trainings that is approved to be done with a virtual audience. So,
All right. And then could you go a little bit more in depth about what the QPR training is, and then maybe a little bit about why it's important?
definitely. So, QPR stands for Question, Persuade, Refer. And what it really is steps to train people to be what the QPR Institute calls suicide gatekeepers. And really, what that means is that we, as individuals, as family members, as community members, learn how to spot, how to identify, how to listen for clues and warning signs indicating that someone might be thinking about suicide. And then it further goes on to teach us how to help them get help and then who to help them get help from, like identifying our resources. And so it is a very basic level training that is for anyone ages 15 and older. And it helps just arm you so you feel more confident in your ability to see and address people who might be in crisis. And they kind of parallel it to CPR that we never know when we're going to come across somebody who may need CPR as a life-saving measure. And if we've never been trained in it, it's nothing we naturally know. And so QPR is much the same. You never know in a day when you're going to encounter someone who's struggling in life, struggling with hopelessness, thinking about ending their life. And so it really just arms us with skills to be able to help that person.
Right. Yeah, I think that all the skills that we discussed in the QPR trainings were really helpful, and they can be used in your day-to-day life just with the people you're surrounded by. So I think that's really important. And then what kind of challenges do you face when you're doing like when you're working and when you're doing these QPR trainings? What kind of challenges do you face?
Well, in my everyday work as a counselor in rural areas, and it's very closely linked to what we talk about in QPR. It's really difficult when you encounter someone who has lost hope for the future, who feels like they are facing something in life that is insurmountable, that I'm never going to feel better. That's hard. It's hard to help someone have hope. Uh, and along with that, when this is happening in our rural areas have a lack of resources and other barriers, including stigma, distance to services. And so there's always that question about, like, what do we do? We can't get this person into a hospital or like a psychiatric setting. We can't get them into treatment. There's no local counselor, all of these barriers. And so part of QPR is really around we need to accept that and still come up with then what's our plan, because it's our reality. So yeah, that I think kind of encapsulates some of the tough things out there.
Yeah, thank you. And then kind of the flip side of that, what are like the most rewarding aspects of that, of what you're doing? Like
Mhm.
what part of that, what you're doing on a daily basis or the QPR trainings like brings you joy and is rewarding?
Oh gosh, so much. When I'm working with someone who has really fought to regain their sense of hope in life, and you start seeing that little spark of optimism or spark of hope, or they might make a comment like, I think I handled that really well, or I'm looking forward to this. It's like you can see the light turning back on. You can see the hope coming back. And so that is always super rewarding for me, especially if I get to see it firsthand, or if I hear from family members that, the interventions are working, they're starting to, return to their former selves, or they're starting to experience joy again. That is extremely fulfilling. And specifically to QPR, I do several QPR trainings every month. And I think if I train all year long, hundreds of people, and only one person implements the skills in a time when it's needed, if only one person encounters a suicidal person, implements the skills, gets that person help, saves their life, 100% worth it. It's like it's about saving lives in a real sense.
Yeah, I can imagine how rewarding those would be to be able to see people just like their whole perspective on everything changing. I think that would be really rewarding. So my next question is, what are your goals for the QPR training in the future? How are you hoping this to like, what direction are you hoping for it to go?
Well, I like being available as a QPR trainer for anyone and everyone who is interested in hosting a training, either virtual or in person. So I have done trainings for like EMS providers. I have done trainings for one I really loved. It was a little town in a rural area, and they had their all of their county employees attend QPR. So from the road crew to the assessor to the auditor, they were all there learning QPR. It's like that's what we need. The more we can embed it into just real life community people, um, the better it is, the more we reach people, because we don't, as professionals, we don't see everybody who's struggling. By the time we see them, often they're really struggling or they're in crisis. And so when we can have the bartender, the hairdresser, the mechanic, the teller at the bank, when we can have all of those people armed to watch for warning signs, I mean, that's when we really start seeing the resilience of entire communities increase.
Yeah. So what is the biggest takeaway from the QPR trainings that you want people to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that people feel empowered to be able to have the conversation with someone who is struggling. Because so many times, we might see something, but we're scared or we're nervous to say anything because, oh my gosh, what if they say yes? And what do I do? And so my biggest hope for a takeaway isn't necessarily a piece of information as much as it's an increased comfort level in like, okay, I have the skills now to kind of march forth and be on the lookout and check in with people and then get them the help they need. Kind of like CPR. I mean, nobody wants to use it and nobody feels comfortable using it, but at least when we were trained in CPR, it's like, okay, I've got some basic skills that I can implement if or when I need to. So yeah, same with QPR, just that comfort level or increased comfort level that I can do this.
Right. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to add to what we've said already before we go, or does that kind of cover most of it?
I would really like to thank 100 Rural Women for sponsoring a QPR, for addressing a situation that isn't fun to talk about and it's uncomfortable to talk about, but it's a reality in our rural areas. And we want it to be less of a reality or not a reality at all. And so I really appreciate um, 100 Rural Women for bringing this to the surface in terms of some attention, both with the actual training that was hosted and this follow-up interview.
Yeah, and we really appreciated having you here this week, Monica, for this. And then where could we find you on social media?
So my practice is called Eyes on the Horizon Consulting, and I'm on Facebook. And I'm really kind of bad with social media, to be honest with you, but I am on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as Monica McConkey, and my website is eyesonthehorizon.org.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Monica, for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Great to be here.